I also remember seeing some years ago earlier paintings of Morgan's when he lived in Boston, say 25 years ago. And there were a lot of urban settings, dense apartments, people hanging out of windows, very much an artist in Boston responding to the vertical culture of brick buildings and neighborhoods of density. And now I see that whole language of urban response is for the most part eliminated since you've been living in the Berkshires. And I was wondering if you knew when you moved here that you were going to think about landscape as opposed to the urban culture, or did it just happen since you were here?
No, actually it's been an odd movement in my vision in a way, because originally I grew up in this little tiny town, Mount Washington, which some of you may know in the South County. And then I went away to college, and then I spent some time in Newark with Nancy, who is my ex-wife, and we were in Newark during the riots in 1967, and it was a real shock to live in that place in that time, and it was really transformed me from doing these kind of pastoral paintings into doing something that I wanted to do something more with it. I did a lot of drawings there that were pretty, I never kind of knew most of the people that I was seeing. I was seeing buildings with people doing things around that was very kind of abstracted in a way, and I was living there in my own world, really, and not a part of it in a certain way. And it made me feel like I began to paint people in a kind of a abstracted way, and it was kind of the underpinnings of coming to the way that they're painted in these present paintings. But then after that, when I moved to Boston, I began to get more literal, and I did do portraits of people. I had one painting where Richard Serra is fighting with George Washington. I liked it because Serra has a kind of a tough demeanor and a very sort of unlike George Washington's kind of more, I guess, a refined sensibility. And so I had a lot of fun putting people together and kind of in my mind in stories where they were doing things that were kind of unexpected in these contexts. So anyway, that changed the way I began to, that I was looking at people from the time that I was in Newark. And, but then after that, I began to feel like I wanted to tell stories that were more kind of generic, that you didn't look at it and say, oh, that's Thomas Jefferson and he's angry, or that's some particular race and they're happy, or whatever. Or even a man and a woman. Most of the figures have been not distinguished in terms of sexual or racial or any kind of characteristics that really tells you who the person is. They're almost like somebody taking just a human being and saying this is what human beings can do. And most of them are doing really stupid things, I must say.